If you like this video, hit that subscribe button. I put out new Storybook Brawl videos every single day at 9:30 p.m. EST, and turns out most of you guys aren't subscribed yet, so what are you waiting for? I'm a pretty small channel, so I do also pay a lot of attention to comments and likes, so let me know what type of content you guys want to see. Enjoy the video. What is up, everybody? I'm NoLucksGiven, and today we are going to be looking at a Wonder Waddle game in which I force HatBall Fork. And I really like playing HatBall Fork on Wonder Waddle. It winds up being pretty strong a lot of the time, and you can force it with some decent regularity. Not as much regularity as you would on Peter Pants, but I think that Wonder Waddle winds up being one of the most common hat ballers. I do think Horde Dragon can also hat ball pretty well, as I showed off in a video, I think 3-4 days ago at this point. But we're going to be looking at a Wonder Waddle game, and I actually do have a lot of Wonder Waddle hat ball fork games that I record, but for whatever reason, I wind up not doing commentary on them and posting them to YouTube. Maybe I'm just not... I do them so much that they've lost a little bit of their appeal to me. But this video I thought was just a really good showcase for HatBall Fork. So definitely wanted to showcase this one for you guys. And I'm going to start off with a Wizard's Familiar and a Blind Mouse. Which is not a particularly powerful start for one of the most powerful heroes. Going to be losing our first few combats here, or at least our first two. But then on round 3, we are able to pick up a Blind Mouse already. So that is quite fantastic, and we get a Forking Rod right off the bat. And that is basically the moment where I decide that we are going to go for the HatBall Fork. Now, I can pick up this 4/4 Crafty, or I could just roll, which gives me a 3/3 Wizard's Familiar, and then potentially allows me to roll into an animal, namely Wizard's Familiar. That's the main one that we're looking for here. So I'm just going to go ahead and cast the free roll twice. Might have just been better to pick up the 4/4 Crafty. I have always liked Crafty as Wonder Waddle. However, I think Crafty is now worse on Wonder Waddle. It's slightly better in now that you can pick it up on turn 1 and play a 2/2 with it, but it's definitely worse overall because Wonder Waddle is one of the quickest heroes to 2 treasures. It's probably the quickest hero to 1 treasure as well, but definitely the quickest hero to 2. Unfortunately, these princes are not flipped, so I'm just going to go ahead and cast a double Kidnap, which is really powerful, and then I'm going to go and lock this White Stag, picking up the Golden Chicken as well. Golden Chicken, always really good on Wonder Waddle. And now we've got a pretty sizable board, a 5/5, a 4/4, a 2/3, and a 2/2. Nothing crazy, and we're playing up against the Sphinx, who also has a free spell this round, so definitely not the most powerful person on this board, potentially, but double Kidnap is going to make it so that we're able to play 7 units next turn. We'll be able to buy the Stag, and then probably I will just cast the Sugar and Spice on the Stag and then go for a roll. That'll make the Wizard's Familiar into a 7/7. But we will have to see what we roll into, I suppose. I do think that's probably a reasonable play, but we're not going to lock ourselves into that. And we're going to pick up an upgraded Polywoggle with the... And we'll get a free Tier 2 treasure. So that actually opens up a lot more options, because now we can skip the treasure. I don't even care that I'm losing this combat and taking 10 from the Sphinx. I kind of already assumed that would be the case. But now we get a free Tier 2 treasure, or I could skip and grab 2 gold, and I clicked the Fairy Tale at first. Oh, and I actually do go for Fairy Tale. Okay, that's surprising me a little bit, because sometimes I will just skip all Tier 2 treasures as Wonder Waddle, because that way you get the gold to keep going, and you're going to get tier 3 treasures so quickly. But because Fairy Tale has an onboard impact, I guess I decided that that was enough to just go for it there. And then I think we will be locking on this shop. But this looks good for us here because now we've got the chance for Polywoggle to give us a tier 5 unit. That could be really sweet. And then we also have a 7/7. We're going to make another 7/7 out of our 3 blind mice. And then, of course, the stag is a 6/6. So I feel decently powerful with this, despite playing a unit down still. I feel like there are a lot of ways that this combat can go right. And potentially, if the Polywoggle can slay against Jack's Giant, that is a really strong start to making us strong in the game, because right now, of course, we are extremely weak. So we just need to make sure the Polywoggle doesn't get sniped, and it does. So that's unfortunate. Also, the stag got sniped, so the Polywoggle was only a 2/2. It was only a 50-50 to slay regardless. So we're going to get another loss, and we're going to drop down to 15. So we're pretty small, and we're losing a lot. We're going to skip this treasure here. That makes a lot of sense. Sugar and Spice seems fine, though. Put 2 more stats on 2 of our units. 1 gold to give +4/+4. That's pretty good. And then here we can go for Golden Chicken, skip, Wizard's Familiar, skip. Like, the only thing that I would take here would potentially be Runestones on this first one. But I think I have to skip. I mean, Crown of Atlas is certainly interesting. But I do think I have to skip this here because with the fork, I am just so much more likely to want to wind up in HatBall, and I'm Wonder Waddle. So I also really likely want to wind up in HatBall for that reason as well. Just going to roll here and keep rolling, and then we see a pair of chickens and a stag as well. So I get to pick up one other of these things. I think stag makes the most sense. It makes us the strongest on the board. And we see the crystal ball, the Merlin's hat, and the treasure map. So for right now, let's grab the crystal ball. We're locking a Luna's Grace into the shop. Next turn, we'll be able to purchase the pig, and then we could potentially try to find Merlin's hat as soon as round 7, that would be. So that would be pretty crazy. We're going to get a decently nice slay right here. A little bit awkward to be slaying on 3.2 because we're about to level up next turn, but I'll take it. We got an upgraded Friendly Spirit. That is really, really good. Mostly because that gives us a monster with which to cast some spells on, so that is really nice. None of these are particularly nice, but I do want to take one of these treasures and replace my Fairy Tale because I want to be cycling through tier 3 treasures just to replace them and potentially get some better treasures in what I'm trying to say is I'm trying to clear the pool of the tier 3 treasures. It winds up being a little bit... The math on it is dicey. It doesn't really improve your odds that much. It's something that you always want to do as Peter Pants, but it's not always something that you really need to do as Wonder Waddle, but I do still try to do that here. And then I just cast a bunch of spells, a whole bunch of Luna's Graces. No way I am losing this combat. I do want to consider the fact that my opponent is Sadrak, and maybe not play my Friendly Spirit in the front line because they're going to get the first attack, so it's just so much more likely that my stag is going to get attacked before it does its thing. And I don't want to put my Wizard's Familiar in the front line either because I don't want it to just get sniped by a large ranged unit like this Spellweaver here for my opponent. So this is totally fine. Spellweaver gets to take out the stag. Kind of figured. We're actually huge all of a sudden. We're at 15 health, so it looked like we were a little bit weak for a bit, but now we seem extremely powerful. 3 blind... I mean, this shop's got everything. It's got Copycat if we had decided to go the Crown route, but I think we're going to try to make the other route happen. It's got a Prized Pig, it's got a 3 blind mice, it's got a donkey. We already have an upgrade of 3 blind mice and Prized Pig, so if I'm purchasing them, I probably want to sell the copy of the one that I have. That's just something that I like to do. Now, we already have Fork, so I don't really need the 3 blind mice, though I could potentially look for Horn if that's what I thought was going to be good for me this game. Merlin's Test is cute, and I'm actually going to go for it. Okay, that's a little bit surprising because Merlin's Test will not get copied by the fork until you have the... Sorry, I'm like blanking on all of these names right here today. I haven't played Storybook Brawl in like a day, and I guess my Storybook Brawl aptitude is atrophying slightly. Okay, now we're getting those $5 words back in it, atrophy and etc. But yeah, we are going to cast a Candy Rain here to grow our team a little bit. Could be cycling through the 3 blind mice to try to find a horn, which would allow you, like horn plus fork does allow you to double the Merlin's Test. But we're not going to go for that here. We're just going to hope that they hit the Wizard's Familiar as much as possible. And, oh, actually, yeah, we deny their Slay there on the goat, so that is pretty sweet. And this is just a commanding win here. They are going to take out our stag, but we're almost going to take them out, bringing them down to 5. And now I do think it's time to pick up a Spellweaver. Probably just cast Magic Research on Spellweaver. Oh, no, that's true, yeah. The Friendly Spirit is also a pretty good target for some spells. Could just cast Earthquake there, but we're going to go with another Spellweaver, and then I think I will cast this pair of free rolls. Unfortunately, we roll past the pig on that first one, but what else can we find? Anything? I would have sold a little bit to pick up either a donkey or a pig there, but we don't wind up hitting. This is still totally fine because we have a really decent board right now, too, with a ranged unit grabbing the Sting, and then just the huge Friendly Spirit potentially getting a buff from the donkey as well. A huge Friendly Spirit honestly carries us like a decent amount in a lot of these early fights, and that was all from a polywoggled kidnap, or a kidnapped double forked polywoggle. So that was a pretty sweet play, and I definitely like an early fork. We're really decently powerful just from the forking rod alone. Getting to double cast all these spells, and then because we're Wonder Waddle, get an upgraded Wizard's Familiar, so every spell cast gives our Wizard's Familiar +4/+4. And even this free roll alone, as the Wizard's Familiar survives there with 3 health, that free roll with the +4/+4 is going to make it so that the Wizard's Familiar survives, and then we're able to kill Galahad. And we didn't quite need the Wizard's Familiar to survive there, but the point is that we are pretty strong now, despite losing so much health early on in some of these other fights. I have the option for treasure map here, but I really want to try to find more tier 3 treasures, so I'm just going to take the power orb, and then we're able to look at another tier 3 treasure, and we find the Merlin's hat, so there we go. Otherwise, we would have had to clear a tier 5 out of the way before we were even able to look at a tier 3. Could have gone for like a tier 4 as well, and potentially found Horn. But yeah, now we've got HatBall Fork, and we're HatBall Fork Wonder Waddle. Wizard's Familiars are still really good. And other than that, we're just going to try to cast a bunch of spells. I do pick up, and I think it's fine to pick up both a tree and a princess here, because then we can cast tree and princess spells on them. It could have been nice to try to roll for a True Love's Kiss, but I think we're going to be fine without doing that. And then here we have the option to double cast Kidnap again against the Sphinx. I think it was the Sphinx that we stole those polywoggles from earlier, so maybe they will be nice enough to donate something else to the cause. A little bit tricky whether you want the Friendly Spirit in the front or the back, either being pumped by the stag or in the front, so that way you know it'll actually die and not just be your last unit alive, but it works out fine there because it gets sniped by the dragon. And yeah, if you look at this board, we're not going to have a problem at all because our Wizard's Familiar is up to like in the 70s. The Cat's Skull could have potentially given us a run for our money, but we just have so much stats on the Wizard's Familiar, it really isn't going to be a problem. Do they pop our pig here? They do pop our pig, but we pop their daggers, so I guess that is a fair trade, and we deal some damage to the 40 health Sphinx as well. And now, all of a sudden, we are feeling really powerful. We have the option to triple a dragon here, but I don't really think that we need any different treasures. We're just going to take the dragons for econ, and I think I'll grab another Wizard's Familiar. I think it's pretty easy, like I said, for Wonder Waddle to be able to double up the Wizard's Familiars and just get a lot of stats before we reach Tier 6. Yeah, and then we're just going to be casting some spells. We do also have a monster from the Friendly Spirit, so we're able to cast all of these flourishes and crowns and things. Probably will still cast this Shard of the Ice Queen on the Happy Little Tree, just to cast it, because why not? And then I guess I can buy this goat here for absolutely no reason. We're just going to skip this as well. This is a little bit tricky. This was like the first HatBall fork turn, and I'm just taking way too much time on all of my moves. So I just buy an INC Terror just to purchase something and not lose all my gold. I'll buy the spinning gold, so that way I throw some of the gold into the next round. But yeah, definitely there were like a lot of decisions and not enough time on the clock to make everything happen that turn. And you can see the Wizard's Familiar is huge enough that it's going to survive a Magic Sworded Mummy, which is just insane. So many stats across the board here. Yeah, looks like we're going to be good. I guess things could get awkward if the Friendly Spirit is our last unit alive, but it's just going to be a tie, so it's not a huge deal. It's a tie. We don't get the spinning gold, and they get our prized pig, so it's like feels like kind of a loss in that regard, but still doing some really good things here. Yeah, we can shard this Billy in the back and just keep flipping whatever that turns into, since it's permanently good. That just gives a little something for us to cast our spells on. Should be playing that unit rather than this bad Billy in the front, and then we will go for a double cast and gain some life. Honestly, probably should have done that on the 9C Terror, because I really don't need to change my treasures out at all, and I could have just gained, so I just gained 4 life. Instead, I could have gained 10, so I could have been at 31, and I would have been the new lobby leader. That would have been a nice little cushion, and definitely should have been what I went for, because it's just going to be tougher to get experience from this point forward. Interestingly, Grimsoul plus Brave Princess will give us a treasure, but not even really looking for that. We'll take a golden chicken and then roll, and I guess we'll ball. Not sure. Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, double cast ball. I couldn't remember if this is when we hit the Storm King or not, but a double cast ball is going to allow us to find a Storm King, and I'm just going to sell everything to purchase that. That way I can unlock this shop here. Should also probably put a larger unit in position 1, so that way it'll stick around and grow the stag, but I don't think it's really going to matter because, well, I guess the baby bear could snipe the stag still. Yeah, so it actually totally did matter, but we didn't get punished for it. That's the important thing. My opponent kills the pig, but it looks like we are going to kill them, so I am not terribly worried about giving them some extra gold that they'll never be able to spend. They do have a book here, but yeah, they're dead. There was no spell that was going to save them at that point. So now we are in the top 4, and we just got to cast some spells, and that's basically it. Yeah, we'll pick up some more Storm Kings if we can find them. I honestly don't even know if we want Aeon here or need Aeon. It's interesting because, yeah, we could sell the pig and then we could purchase the Aeon and the Storm King and then play the Kidnap, but like, am I even putting Aeon in on this board? I guess it can get pumped by the stag, but it really doesn't seem like it's going to be good enough, so it probably wasn't worthwhile to purchase it there. Now, eventually we will want to take this stag out of our comp, and oh, okay, I actually go to take the stag out now. Okay, well, if I'm going to take the stag out, then I guess it is fine to play the Aeon. Seems really low percentage that this Aeon will slay, but no matter. We just have like a ridiculously huge board outside of that. I'm not sure if I will check the level of the Jax Giant, but we did at least gain a little bit of XP. I'm going to backline the Aeon so that way the Friendly Spirit can potentially proc onto it. I don't really see that happening though. I think that we are just going to wind up winning and not getting an Aeon proc, but we also don't really need it. It would decrease the cost of Gigantify and Hugify though, so it's not doing nothing, but it probably isn't going to be relevant. We do get pretty lucky there that it gets onto the Aeon, but I don't think the Aeon will ever get to attack because the rest of our board is just so strong. So didn't really matter. None of our backline attacked other than the Spellweaver. So that is going to bring us into the top 3, where we are up against the Sphinx, and we just got a pair of Cupids from our opponent there. And yeah, set up pretty well to end the game. Cast some more spells on the Friendly Spirit and the Spellweaver. And I guess we could take an upgraded Cupid. I don't really think it does anything. Let's just cast some more spells. Cast these on really anything. Anything is good here. And I do really like this Mixawazzle getting a tier 5 unit. We could have sharded it if it turned into something good. I guess I'll shard a Cupid. But before we do that, or after we do that, we'll cast this It Was All a Dream. But yeah, let's cast some more spells first, and then let's dream out of Wonderwaddle. I think that is going to be the play here. So that's basically everything. We get 2 dreams, so I probably should have sold some of this stuff on the bench because I'm not going to be able to make use of this Headless Horseman or this Gwen now. I can't really take. If I take it, I just won't get the Knighthood because the shop's full and my hand is full, so I wouldn't even get it. I was fine with doing that, though. I think I should have done the things in the... Well, I should have sold some things, for sure. But I knew I wasn't going to be casting any more spells this turn, so I didn't want to just, generate a bunch of gold. And honestly, it winds up being fine, all things considered. We end on Grandmother or Big Bad Wolf, which doesn't give us any bonus health at this point, but does give all of our units... I think it's +5/+5. Either +5/+5 or +6/+6. But either way, a bunch of stats across the board, and that is going to be enough to finally take out the Sphinx. And now we are in the finals against Zelhua. And we do have a Kidnap. We're never going to cast this Kidnap. That's what I was trying to say, that I'm not super worried about losing the Kidnaps because I am not planning on doing anything with them anyways. The ideal thing there, I think, would have been Gwen into Big Bad Wolf, but this is still pretty good. So we wind up just casting a few more spells here, not really too much more to say on top of that. And I suppose, okay, yeah, we'll buy a Prince so that way we can continue to cast a few more spells just to round out the turn. And if we sold 3 things here, we're still a ways off from the Knighthood. So that's not happening. And, oh, okay, I guess I'm going to lock for it on the next turn. Yeah, seems fine. It's a lot of stats when combined with the Storm King, so it's kind of cool, but I don't really think that any of these things are too important. Sometimes you get bogged down. I'm never sure if it's right to cast the Knighthood on the Storm King. If you can make it even cheaper because of Aeon and Hat, then it starts to look a little bit more appealing. But even then, I'm not sure. We are going to get a slight discount on it. It's only going to cost 9 for us next turn. So that is going to give us still a little bit of cash to do the rest of our turn. We'll have 3 gold for the turn and then 4 gold in our hand. So 7 gold for the turn overall. And we'll get 2 more spells once we cast the Knighthood. So it's reasonable that it winds up making sense, but we shall see. We're going to win this one and hit our opponent for 10 down to 19. So we'll need 1 or 2 more wins like that. Never mind. They concede. Okay. I did not know that's what was going to happen. I didn't know how this game ended. But turns out we don't need to figure out if it's worth it to cast the Knighthood on the Storm King. Our opponent is just going to concede. So that is going to be it. You can see, I think there's still a potential reason for my opponent to play it out there. But if you look at the percentages that we have in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, we were almost 99% to win that. We did still have a 1% chance to lose, and if I was playing as my opponent, I certainly would have played it out just to play for that 1%, try to find some neat spells, try to find some scamming. I'm not backline ranged. A Cupid is actually pretty good against us here. It potentially gets a 2-for-1. Yeah, it gets a 2-for-1 a decent portion of the time. So Yeah, there were definitely some plays that my opponent could have made. And they had that Doom Breath as well. Didn't they have Doom Breath Magic Sword? Yeah, they definitely did. So that could have, though, I guess that was only killing one unit most of the time here anyways. Or like, if it hits here, it kills one unit. Here, it kills one unit. Here, it kills arguably only one unit because I don't really care about the Friendly Spirit. And then here, it kills 2 units. So the Doom Breath wasn't doing that much work for them, really, all things considered. But that's going to be it for this video, and that is a HatBall fork. Hopefully you had fun with this one. Yeah, kind of a lackluster ending that it just kind of falls off at the end there, but still a really fun beginning with that really early fork, which you can see how that allows you to really snowball your results. And a lot of the times what I'll do with Wonder Waddle is I won't try to force, the name of this clip is Wonder Waddle HatBall Fork Forced, or Ball Hat Fork Force. And while I did force it at some point, I didn't go into the game forcing it. And I think that's a pretty important distinction because I went into this game willing to play whatever I was given. And I happened to be given a forking rod very, very early. So I think that's important of a distinction to consider there, is you can still, with Wonder Waddle, I've got other games on this channel where I get an early Dwarven Forge, and then am able to do some cool things with that. So that is going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I'm NoLucksGiven. Peace.